Just because you're offended does not actually mean that you're right. You could be right or wrong or both about an offense. What is an offense? Something that is harmful, neglectful, politically incorrect, a lie, or an extreme crime. But knowing what that is in the act of humanism and the world of events that occur, knowing how to identify that is just simply understanding what the intent was and understanding what the actions are and what the results are. Okay, it's a lot of measurement at some point as well, and they usually call that like science or forensic science or criminal science or social science or political science or chemical, physical, and biological science. There's a lot to it. You can measure different parts of the body that have been victimized by a crime or an offense, or but knowing the root causes is a serious thing, because science is so quantum and humans are so quantum and life is so quantum that the root causes can be confusing. Like, for instance, a certain amount of body temperature could be the cause of a certain illness, whereas we might have thought that it was an infection, but instead, if you would have cooled the infection, the person wouldn't have died from the infection. So it's a toss-up. Is it the temperature? Is it the infection that kills us? It's really both, but in the case of medicine, the temperature rose too much and it made that person sick. Or another person is making love to a girl who's offended by the fact that she didn't like making love or something. Her opinion was not stated and she was offended just because she didn't like it. It's not the the guy's fault or the girl's fault, or just because you're offended doesn't mean that it's anybody's fault in a normal act. You can be offended, but you can't blame it on someone else in the act of, say, like love making, if it directly isn't what you would do or how you would like it. Or that's one case where just because you're offended doesn't mean that it's an offense. I mean, it depends. It really does on what the level of action was in the event. So that always depends. But knowing intent and the level of action, um, you got to be a real good physical judge to understand what an offense really is. Or having a child in poverty, is that an offense? Because millions and millions of people are what brought us here, and a lot of them lived in poverty. So, is that an offense? Having an illness and being in a marriage, is that an offense? Um, Lots of things you question about what an offense really is. People are offended. Yes, you can be offended, but you can't really point your blame because some things are normal or out of our control.